Taiwan, I'm Eric Gao, bringing you the news from Taipei. President Lai Ching-te has highlighted Taiwan's influence as a democracy on the global stage as he marked Human Rights Day.
今日的台湾已经是亞洲的民主燈塔，在各項國際自由度和民主指數的評比中，台灣始終攏排佇頭前，是亞洲少數被評比為完全民主的國家之一。
Speaking at the National Human Rights Museum, Lai said that Taiwan is a country founded on human rights. He emphasized the need to deepen cooperation between the government and civil society on transitional justice to do right by past political victims. And as China continues to show its ambition to take over Taiwan, Lai also stressed that safeguarding national security is essential to protect the country's hard-won democracy. The U.S. has released its latest national security strategy, saying deterring a conflict over Taiwan is a priority. It says preserving the U.S.'s military superiority is needed to achieve that. The document also noted increased focus on Taiwan for its critical role in semiconductors. It further says that the U.S. does not support unilateral changes to the cross-strait status quo. Instead, it calls for working with regional allies to ensure that the U.S. can always defend Taiwan. President Lai Ching-te has thanked the U.S. for prioritizing peace across Taiwan and says the country will continue to boost its defenses. For more on what this new strategy could mean for U.S. engagement in the region, our reporter Larry Isiano spoke to Bryce Barros, an associate fellow at the think tank GlobeSec.
What are your high-level thoughts on the new national security strategy? Do you think that this represents some sort of shift in U.S. policy towards Asia and the Indo-Pacific region?
Yes, I do think it's a bit of a high-level shift on U.S. policy in Asia broadly. I think specifically where the national security strategy mentions Taiwan, specifically under the deterring military threats subsection, it really doesn't focus on ways that it partners with Taiwan in a military way other than wanting to ensure that Taiwan is important because of its semiconductor production, but also given its own geography across the so-called First Island chain. So I think that that's actually pretty significant into itself to mention that. I do think that it does allow for a lot of ambiguity about what U.S. actions would be for that, other than trying to deny China's ability to want to seize Taiwan or try to get a foothold on any of the islands in the First Island chain. So the way to sort of do that is to keep an eye on what's happening going forward related to bilateral exercises or multilateral exercises here in the Indo-Pacific. So if you continue to see those exercises and interactions sort of maintain their balance and ramp up, I think that's a lot more telling than some of the more ambiguous language that you have in the actual national security strategy unto itself.
A few months ago, in the lead up to APEC, there was some concern that Taiwan could be seen as some sort of political bargaining chip between Trump and China while he sought out some sort of trade deal. Do you think the strategy assuages those concerns or addresses those concerns?
I don't know if the strategy necessarily gets into that at all, right? And there's been a lot of omission within the strategy that talks about the nuts and bolts of how it will work with Taiwan. But I do think that some of the things that you're starting to see so far show that the Trump administration is not necessarily viewing Taiwan, or at least using it as a bargain chip.
How does this national security strategy differ from previous ones? This is the first in 3 years and the first in President Trump's second term.
I think the biggest difference, so if you're looking at this national security strategy versus ones that you've seen for previous, like the Biden administration, for example, where the Biden administration put a really strong advocacy on democracy, right? There's not a whole lot of mention of human rights, democracy, and whatnot in the context of this national security strategy. And within the context of China, right? So Hong Kong, Xinjiang, all those other, like transnational repression. So in that sense, at least on the Indo-Pacific policy related to China, it is a bit of a departure. However, I do think that there is a decent amount of stuff that provides a nod to wanting to work with allies and partners, which issues has the administration chosen to speak up about, done actions against, like, for example, sanctions or military exercises or things along those lines. I think that that's a key thing to sort of keep an eye out for when thinking about the actual implementation of this national security strategy versus previous ones.
That was Bryce Barrows, an associate fellow at GlobeSec. Both Japan and Taiwan are paying close attention to China's recent increased maritime activities, following media reports that Beijing has deployed a large number of vessels across East Asian waters. Alan Liu reports.
100 naval and coast guard ships. That's the highest numbers of vessels China has recently sent to its nearby waters. An earlier Reuters report shows Chinese vessels have surged from the Yellow Sea, through the contested South China Sea and out into the Western Pacific. And this has triggered responses from surrounding countries, including Taiwan.
总统呢也责请了国防部，还有责请我们的国安相关单位都要有完整的掌握、及时的回报。
Japan has also spoken out, saying it's been closely monitoring China's naval activities but offered no further comments. The maritime pressure comes as China and Japan are in the middle of a diplomatic row, after Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai said last month that a hypothetical Chinese attack on Taiwan could prompt a military response from Tokyo.
China has been expanding and intensifying its military activities around Japan. While we maintain a high level of vigilance regarding China's military movements and continuously gather and analyze information, we refrain from commenting on each specific case.
Analysts say China has long been preparing to respond to conflicts in multiple regions at the same time.
同时，我们可以去检视一下，说中共有没有能力，同时在对日本施压，同时在台湾的这个周边海域，它可以同时来举办一场相关大规模的演习。
In response to the concerns, China's foreign ministry says the activities are in line with the international law and says there's no need to overreact. But Chinese military pressure continues in the Taiwan Straits, as Taiwan reported 29 Chinese aircraft and 6 vessels operating nearby from Friday to Saturday morning. With this Chinese military pressure, President Lai Ching-te proposed a record-high $40 billion special defense budget to better prepare Taiwan's defense. Fu Huahong and Ellen Lu for TaiwanPlus.
A Chinese spouse of a Taiwanese national has returned to China after promoting a military takeover of Taiwan. Chen Li ran a social media account supporting China's use of force against Taiwan, which led to her residency and household registration here being canceled. Authorities say that if she wishes to return in the future, she would have to apply under a different status. She is one of several spouses who have left the country after advocating for unification by force. Taiwan has officially protested a UK Mandarin program's teaching materials, which characterize Taiwan as part of China. The Foreign Ministry here says the Mandarin Excellence Program is a language learning program formed from a partnership between the British Council and the China-affiliated Confucius Institute at the University College London. The British government helps support that program. The ministry says it has expressed concern and demanded changes through Taiwan's representative office in London. The Foreign Ministry says it rejects Beijing's distortion of facts through its Confucius Institutes. Premier Zhou Rongtai says the government still wants to phase out nuclear power, even though 2 closed nuclear plants could restart in the next few years. Under the ruling DPP, Taiwan has shut down all of its nuclear reactors. But the Taiwan Power Company plans safety inspections at 2 of the shuttered plants, and if they're found safe, there's a chance that they could come back online. The Premier says the government is not walking back its policy, but that the phase-out of nuclear power may have to be pushed back as Taiwan develops renewable energy. He also says the government may one day rethink its nuclear policy if new technologies come along that guarantee safety, solve the nuclear waste problem, and win public backing. Disability rights advocates say Taipei's main transport hub is a tough place for wheelchair users to get around. To drive the point home and to push for better accessibility, they have brought lawmakers on a wheelchair tour of the station to see the hassles that disabled passengers face every day. John Van Trieste reports.
These 2 lawmakers are joining disability activists for a tour of Taipei Main Station, the capital's primary transit hub. To get a true sense of what it's like for wheelchair users, they're in wheelchairs too. It's not long before they hit barrier number 1, the escalators down from the lobby to the trains. Lawmakers Guo Yuqing and Chen Qinghui come from opposite sides of the political aisle, but today they're in the same boat. because until a station attendant picks up their call and helps them turn on the wheelchair ramp, neither of them is going anywhere. It can take up to 10 minutes for someone to show up. Something that takes just a few seconds for people on foot turns into a lengthy hassle. There are elevators, but wheelchair users say finding them, even on station maps, isn't easy. And where there are signs, advocates say they are often far too low to the ground to be noticed, making it easy for wheelchair users to get lost. Wheelchair users say Taipei Main Station doesn't adequately meet their needs.
我看得到，机捷就在我的面前，但是我到得了吗？到不了。要过马路，要下楼梯，在台北车站，你要靠着这些标志来找到那个要去的地方，一辈子找不到。
Taipei Main Station is where local metro, airport metro, high-speed rail, and local rail lines all meet. Statistically, some 30,000 people with a disability pass through every day. Taiwan Railway says it's taking suggestions for better accessibility seriously.
这个我们会来检讨，把应变的时间跟它缩短，让大家不要在那边等那么久的时间。有关指标跟相关的进出口的一个导引我们会即刻来做一个研究跟评估了。
Wheelchair users and the lawmakers that have joined them today hope the station will take these promises seriously, so that navigating one of Taiwan's most complex transport hubs will be at least a little bit easier. Joseph Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Conservationists are working to bring their research on cetaceans off Taiwan's east coast to the world stage. Our reporter Sandy Chi explains how they do it.
The chirping of spinner dolphins, the singing of common bottlenose dolphins, and the clicking of sperm whales. Beneath the waves, there is an ocean of sounds.
第一次听到，某香鲸的那个咔嗒咔嗒的那个声音传进耳朵里，透过这个耳机，我就觉得。 好像我跟这个自然环境、海洋环境连接变得更深刻了。
These recordings of cetaceans off Taiwan's east coast were made by NGO Hualien Formosa Association and a local whale watching company, part of a massive project that started in 2023 to study aquatic mammals. Using offshore observation and monitoring, the team, including volunteers, take still and aerial photos and make acoustic surveys of the animals, collecting well over 300 underwater recordings, which they then organize for study.
在那个当下，其实我们是一个原始的声音，全部捞上来，在做很多的信号的处理之后，我们把它整理出来。
Most of the recordings come from sperm whales. The project heads say it's evidence that several sperm whale pods still return to Taiwan's waters each year, despite decades of fast industrial growth and weak early environmental rules polluting the seas.
幸好台湾社会并不是那么的善待海洋，但是海洋善待台湾留给我们离岸比较远的某香鲸。
To date, some of its data has already been released on international scientific platforms for researchers around the world. The team hopes to build a solid foundation for cetacean research in Taiwan and show the world their commitment to marine life and future scientific studies. Andy Xu and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of medals being crafted for the 2026 Winter Olympics to be held in Milano Cortina in Italy. I'm Eric Am. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for sharing our passion for food and Taiwan. Veggie Island explores the vibrant world of plant-based cuisine.
Wow, this is amazing.
While Taiwan on the Rocks uncovers the stories and craftsmanship behind every sip.
Have you ever tried Taiwanese beer?
Are you ready to taste even more of Taiwan?